Now, after a whirlwind 6-day visit to the United States, Abiy Ahmed, the new Prime Minister of Ethiopia, has returned home. Now, the question is how newfound relationships will impact one of Africa's fastest changing countries. Salem Solomon and Karina Chaudhry attended one of the Prime Minister's business meetings in Washington and has our story.
Everywhere Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed turned in the U.S., he found supporters. At events in Washington, Minnesota, and Los Angeles, the Ethiopian diaspora cheered one of Africa's youngest and most dynamic leaders. Abiy met with religious groups, opposition leaders, and Vice President Mike Pence. Now, he's back home and hopes to translate new connections into fresh opportunities.
We have returned after a successful visit accomplishing our long-term goal to connect with our Ethiopian American community. The main goal during our stay was to break the wall of hate among Ethiopians and build a bridge of love and connectedness. This was possible because of the determination and heartfelt wishes of Ethiopians in North America.
For those in the diaspora ready to reconnect, it's Abiy's willingness to listen that makes the difference.
He understands actually the resources that are available with the Ethiopian diaspora. Many educated Ethiopian scholars and professionals, many Ethiopian businessmen and women.
Ethiopia wants to capitalize on those resources by opening its doors and letting investors find their own opportunities.
We may tell them, this is what we have, but with the exposure and experience, they may see beyond. So let them come and see, contributing the benefit.
Those experiences include entrepreneurs' efforts to improve the lives of women. A registered nurse who started a breast cancer foundation says women are the cornerstones of their communities and country.
Our organization has been helping women in the diaspora and in Ethiopia for the past 6 years. We are now in the process of registering in Ethiopia. We hope to build a cancer center in the country.
A young lawyer with an opposition group hopes a conducive environment will help him apply the business chops he honed in South Africa.
I can bring this skill, experience back home and try to create jobs for a lot of people.
Some in the diaspora are ready to help, but remain realistic.
I'm very happy that we have a young leader who envisions moving the country forward. I call on Ethiopians to be patient because change always takes time and doesn't happen overnight. I would say give it a chance and help in an industry that people contribute to and move the country forward. As Dr. Abiy said, we should be the leaders of Africa.
For now, the government is focusing on regional integration and connecting to its diaspora.
It's time for Ethiopians and the diaspora community to get together for unity. There are so many differences that held us back, and we're not able to communicate well.
There was a tremendous sense of optimism among Ethiopian Americans. Even before Abiy's visit to the U.S., remittances sent back home from the diaspora had begun to increase. That's a trend Ethiopia hopes to accelerate as it moves to privatize its economy and shift its focus away from infrastructure investments and jumpstart the commercial sector. Salem Solomon for VOA News, Washington.
Now, for more insight into Prime Minister Abiy's visit to America, VOA's Amharic reporter Solomon Abate joins me in the studio. Solomon, welcome back to Africa 54.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you for having me.
You were at the airport when Prime Minister Abiy arrived in the U.S. You attended all 3 meetings from Washington DC, Minneapolis, and Los Angeles. Did all Ethiopians here receive him the same way?
Yes. Esther, you cannot imagine how hot were all the fora the Prime Minister had been last week, and it's very difficult to wrap it up, in such a short period of time, what happened in these 3 states. It was very, very amazing what the Prime Minister saw during his visit to Ethiopia. In Washington, D.C. only, about 40,000 Ethiopians met him at the convention center in Los Angeles and Minnesota. About 15,000 almost in each met the Prime Minister, and everybody was cheering and singing.
A very, very warm welcome to Prime Minister Abiy.
It was warm, really.
What about when you talk to Eritreans who also attended these meetings of Abiy? What are they saying, especially given that he is forging this new relationship with a longtime enemy and neighbor?
You know, Esther, besides Ethiopians celebrated, this new prime minister, and his visit to the United States was one of the manifestations of this celebration. It was a celebration of the renewed relationship between Eritrea and Ethiopia as well. In all three towns, in all three cities, there were Ethiopians and Eritreans joined together in welcoming the Prime Minister.
Now, very quickly, Solomon, Prime Minister Abiy met U.S. Vice President Mike Pence. Do we know what the discussions were like, very quickly?
Yes, that meeting was not pre-planned, I think, but on Friday, on the 27th of July, Vice President Pence met with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and they discussed on some regional issues, and the Vice President commended the changes in Ethiopia, and he called these changes historic, and that was a big reception at high level for Ethiopian leader.
Thank you. Indeed, they are historic.
Yeah,
He's right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Solomon Abate is VOA Amharic reporter.